Switch your side left heel, lifts right heel lowers. Exhale, fold over the straightening left leg, Jani Shishak. Wiggle your right big toe all the way to the top of the mat. Get as active and as long in your back left leg as possible, and then inhale, rise up. Tallest version of you again. This is where that belief has to come into play.
Even though I know that it's coming every single year, I'm so shocked at how intense the wind can be out here. It's officially winter now, which means the stormy season is upon us, and we have just had a couple of days, or about a week straight, of just really intense winds, heavy rain. This day we had a power cut that lasts for about 5 or 6 hours, and sometimes with these power cuts it can take the phone tower out as well. So we had no signal on our phone, had no power, so basically for most of the day we just spent inside playing cards and laughing our heads off, and it was actually really nice to take this forced digital detox, if you will. It was also a really good time to tick off some of my things on the to-do list that don't require me to be online or on my phone. So I spent the rest of the afternoon planning lots of yoga classes, which you will see a little bit later on. The power did eventually turn back on, and the first thing that we did was eat and have a shower. Another thing that I really love about the winter season is it means that I get to have porridge. I mean, I can have porridge every other day of the year as well, but I only really start craving it when we get into winter and I just want something warm and delicious in the mornings. This porridge recipe was actually really nice. It kind of ended up tasting like a blueberry pie. I just put a lot of cinnamon into the oats while they were cooking and let it cook down almost to the point where all of the water was gone, so it got a little bit crispy at the bottom. And then I simmered down some frozen blueberries to make this really yum blueberry sauce and added them together with some vanilla yogurt, and it was just so tasty. Hello, what is up? I am just actually about to plan a yoga class. I'm teaching at Sala in the city tomorrow, which is a beautiful yoga studio in Ponsonby. I've got dynamic yoga tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I think it's a 60-minute class. Oh, no, it's a 75-minute. Cool, 75-minute. I feel like I actually do really good with 75 minutes. Sometimes I feel like an hour. I always get to like the last 15 minutes of the class and I'm like, damn, I wish I had longer. So 75 minutes I feel like is always a really nice length. I'm going to plan my class and I thought it'd be really cool to show you kind of how I create my classes. So the way that I was taught to plan a class at YTT was really, really useful, especially in like my early days of teaching yoga and planning sequences and classes. And it was peak pose. So you'd pick a peak pose to work towards, then you'd break down the component parts. So like what part of the body needs opening, what part of the body needs strengthening, what are we kind of like moving into to support that peak pose. So then you would like write down a list of poses and asanas that will awaken and strengthen or open the component parts that guide you into the peak pose. And I still kind of have that mentality, but now I feel like I'm a lot more flexible with it. Usually in my classes, I like to warm up all parts of the body anyway. And so something you need to know about me is that I like to save my planning of classes for when I'm laying in bed at like 11 o'clock and trying to go to sleep. My brain will just start firing up with like, ooh, how about this for like a sequencing idea? Or what about this for a class? And so last night when I was trying to sleep, I actually had some things come to mind of what I wanted to do for this Saturday's class. And I want to work into some arm strengthening, shoulder and heart opening to go into forearm balance. I want to play with some forearm balance with them. So we're going to work on a class that's leading up to forearm balance. I feel like that motion leads into back bends really nicely, so we'll probably incorporate some back bends in there as well. Obviously we're going to be working into balance, so some core activation is going to be necessary. I have some ideas for that. So yeah, I've got my little notebook here. I do like to write, especially when I'm planning these classes. I like to write them down just because I feel like they really stay in my brain that way. Just going to move intuitively and flow through a couple of things and like take notes as I'm going. So while I'm drilling through any ideas that I've had, I like to also think of other movements that I could do while I'm in the same space. So for example, when I was in child's pose, I had the shoulders onto some blocks, and then when I came out of child's pose, I thought it was a really cool way of incorporating the blocks whilst in Vajrasana to do some more drills to open up into the shoulders, leading to forearm balance. Likewise, when I was in side plank, it was a really nice time to solidify through the shoulders and engage the core, but then I also realized that I could further engage the core and strengthen the arms by adding in a thread the needle action as well. I also really like to add in extra things to warm up particular parts of the body through transitions. So instead of just simply coming back to down dog, I decided to come back to down dog and then drop onto the forearms for a dolphin pose. Because we're working into forearm balance, this kind of was a natural progression into that peak pose. Alright, peak pose. Up until the peak pose is done. So now it's just cool down time. And I know exactly where I'm taking them for the very first cool down because I know that it's exactly where I would want to go after a class like that. And it's this bad boy. This nice little shoulder stretch here with a little hip opener. I actually have no idea what it's called, but basically for the cool down, you just want to aim on relaxing and releasing all of the muscles that have been worked through the class. Just focus in on coming back to stillness and breath. So for forearm balance, I obviously want to release into the shoulders. I might hit Sphinx pose here just before we go into that, so then that way you can kind of stretch out the core. I might work on some folding because we've done a lot of opening. I always love Janu Shirshasana, so I'm probably going to hit a Janu Shirshasana or even just a simple forward fold. Maybe a straddle might actually be nice. Usually with the cool downs, like I want to put in at least one fold and I want to put in some twists. Your end sequence is essentially just to kind of like reset everything, and twists are an amazing way of resetting everything. And then come onto the back, maybe hit a happy baby or a waterfall if they want it. Happy baby, waterfall, or a plow or shoulder stand. That like final pose of like happy baby, waterfall, plow, shoulder stand, I always just offer those all together as one, and like people have the option to go into them if they feel like they want to, if they feel like they need to. And then Shavasana. And then look at that, we've planned our class. So after I've written it down like I would here, I'll usually go through it a few more times. I'm pretty happy with it as is, but I'll probably just run through it again just to get it in my noggin. Usually I don't really plan things that don't feel seamlessly like they flow together. And there's like a couple of things that I always like to kind of combine and do together. Like I love going from a Vashisthasana into a side angle, like coming up and then stepping the foot down. It feels so natural for me to open up into side angle there. The fact that they flow so nicely together makes them sit in my mind a little bit more. This one is so in need of a walk. Oh my God, you're going crazy. So I ran through the sequence maybe 2 or 3 more times and added in a few things here or there that I thought could be cool. This little section of core work was one of them, but funnily enough, it was also the part in the class that I ended up forgetting or like scrapping when I was eventually teaching it. But I did really like it as a sequence, and I think I'll add it into other classes in the future. Something I like to remind myself when I'm planning these classes is that I don't have to do all of my ideas all at once. There are some things that I can save for a class later down the line. For example, there was a couple of things that I wanted to add into this class, but that actually didn't flow very well together. So I decided just to leave them out and then utilize them in a class in the future when maybe it flows a bit better. Just got done teaching. Look at this beautiful studio though. Just like the most stunning studio you could ever hope to be in. I just got changed because I'm gonna go and get brunch with my friend Patty, who came to the class. It's my first time teaching her yoga, so special. But yeah, really pleased. There was a couple of moments that I think I skipped out the core work part, but I mean, who's going to be upset about skipping core work, right? But it was a really nice class and I loved the energy and it was just like such a good vibe. But yeah, I'm going to go get some food now. This is my friend Patty. I haven't seen her for such a long time, so we just went and caught up over brunch. Hola. Hola. Welcome to Income. It was so lovely. We honestly just spent this brunch holding hands and just getting really vulnerable with one another, and it was so lovely, especially after such a long time apart. After brunch, we decided to go down to this little op shop and no joke, spent maybe like an hour and a half trying on clothes. I didn't buy anything. I was really close to buying this dress, but it was $180, which I just could not for the life of me justify. And then we walked down Ponsonby Road a little bit further and came to this really, really cute secondhand bookstore. I, again, didn't buy anything, but just to wander around with her and spend the day with her was really sweet.